Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everybody had a great Easter. Well, let's get excited about finances today. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about retirement planning. I'm going to explain to you, basically in a nutshell, the American Taxation System. And I'll try to make it as simple as possible because, let's face it, nothing the government does is simple, right? But I think I've got an easy way to explain it. We're going to talk about your paycheck. All the different places you can go. Actually, darn, this phone goes off and it gets me all distracted. I hate it when people text me or call me when I'm trying to video something. Let's try that again. Okay, so the American Taxation System in a nutshell. All right, basically, they have given us 3 different places, and by they I mean the government, have given us 3 different places that we can put our money. We'll call them buckets because that's a little bit what they look like. I know it's kind of small up here, but my chalkboard is only so big. So 3 buckets. Picture here, if you will, up in this little corner, your paycheck, this little makeshift dollar bill up here. Okay, so you get a paycheck from work every week, right? And taxes come out of that paycheck. Your federal taxes, your state taxes, Medicare, Social Security, all that fun stuff. With what's left, your employer typically will put that paycheck into your first bucket, okay? And by the way, we label these buckets 1099 just because that's the name of the form you get every year at the end of the year from the government. So the first bucket we'll say is the 1099 now bucket, okay? Paycheck goes in here. Different types of things that sit in this first bucket, pretty much everybody's heard of them. A checking account, a savings account, sometimes CD accounts, money market accounts, even brokerage accounts sit in this first bucket. Now, a brokerage account is like, sometimes again, those trading apps that you get on your phone. You put money in, when you trade something and you go to take money out, it's funded with after-tax dollars, right? Dollars that have already been taxed from your paycheck. All right. Now, this second bucket, this one is called the 1099 later bucket. This bucket is also something that most people are familiar with, okay? Again, we can take some of our paycheck and we can put it into this second bucket. Now, that money is going to sit in that bucket and it's going to grow over the years. But that money is tax deferred. In other words, your employer has not deducted taxes from the monies that go into this bucket. So what types of things sit in the 1099 later bucket or the tax deferred bucket? Things that sit in there are traditional IRAs, individual retirement plans, okay? Things like a 401k, a 403b. If you're lucky enough to still have a pension plan, those sit in there. The college 529 savings plans sit in that second bucket. Did I just say that? Oops. Second bucket. Okay, so again, that money goes in there, sits and it grows tax deferred over the years. When you go to take money out of this bucket in retirement, this is where you're going to pay the taxes on that money. Okay, so it is recommended that you put 10 to 15% of your paycheck away every year for retirement, okay? Let's just say, to make the math easy, you make $100,000 a year. If we took 10% of that $100,000 and we put it into this bucket, well, guess what? We don't have to pay the taxes on it yet. So when we do this, we get to tell the federal government we only make $90,000 a year, okay? However, again, when you go to take that money out, that $10,000 is going to be taxed. And if you're sitting, average tax bracket for this area is 22%. So out of that $10,000 that you originally put in, what you're actually going to get out is about $7,800. Okay? Okay. Now, this third bucket. This is something that not everybody knows about. A lot of people do. I never did. The third bucket is called the 1099 never bucket or the tax-free bucket. Again, we can have monies taken from our paycheck and put into this bucket. It will also sit and it will grow tax deferred, okay? The difference is when you go to take money out of this bucket, again, as in retirement, you do not pay taxes on the money in that third bucket, okay? So what types of things sit in that third bucket? Well, there's a few different things. Some of the bigger ones, municipal bond funds sit in this bucket. Permanent life insurance sits in this bucket. And another one that you may have already heard of is something called a Roth IRA. That is the difference between a traditional and a Roth IRA. The taxes when you go to draw an income stream, okay? So let's figure this out. If we put the whole 10% of our paycheck into a second bucket item, like our 401k, 403b at work, okay? If we put $10,000 in, when we're retired, we're only going to get $7,800 out. Let's say somebody suggested we diversify ourselves a little bit early on as we were saving for retirement. That person may have suggested that instead of putting all 10% into this bucket, we only put 5% into the later bucket, the other 5% we put into the never bucket, okay? So what happens in that scenario? Well, in that scenario, since we only put 5% into the second bucket, that lowered our tax bracket, right? So instead of the 22% tax bracket, let's say that we're somewhere around 12 to 16%. So if we put $5,000 in there, when it's taxed, what we're actually going to get out of there is $4,450, okay? If we take the other $5,000 and we put it in here, it doesn't get taxed when it comes out. We get the whole $5,000 back. So remember the first scenario where we had all of our ducks in one basket, so to speak. Out of that $10,000, we got $7,800. In the second scenario, where we diversified ourselves a little bit, as opposed to $7,800, we actually got $9,450 back, which is a lot better than $7,800, isn't it? That's it for now. I'm getting long in time and I don't want to put you to sleep. We'll talk more about this at some other point. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.